Hey guys, I'm with Austin Lacey. He's a Facebook ads expert and a friend of mine. Welcome, Austin.
Thanks.
So I'm gonna ask. I know a lot of you are working on campaigns, Facebook advertising campaigns, or you might want to get into it, or you don't know if it's for you. So Austin's gonna be guide. I'm gonna ask him everything maybe that's going on in your mind about Facebook ads. So who should do Facebook ads and who shouldn't do it? And we're talking about health coaches, life coaches, relationship coaches.
Right.
Um, uh, you know, how do you know when you're ready to do a Facebook ad?
Yeah, I would say if you already have an offer that, ideally that you've already made a sale or two, through organic methods like you've been using Facebook posts or your LinkedIn network, things like that. It's usually the one most important thing is if you've sort of validated the offer and you know that people will pay money for it,
Mm-hmm.
then you have a good chance that it'll work on paid ads.
Nice.
I would say.
Is there a specific budget that you need to have before using Facebook ads?
It's kind of like it kind of varies, but usually I probably wouldn't go into it with any less than $1,000 to start with.
Yeah, $1,000 like a month or.
Um, it's kind of easier to say in amount than in time because sometimes you might that same amount might stretch depending on which niche you're in or which demographic that you're targeting. All those variables kind of play into how much that budget will get spread over.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say at least $1,000 for the first month because a lot of the time too, things will start optimizing and getting the wheels will start getting greased, but it'll take a little while sometimes to do that initial testing, which is why you want a little bit of a cushion. So it's good to kind of start with at least 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience when I've run ads for myself, it just takes $100 or $200 for the ads to even learn how to optimize and learn how to work. So yeah, if you're trying to do ads with just $100 or $200, it might not be the smartest move because it'll take that long to even get it working properly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So sometimes people will start with $10 a day. And they'll only have about $200 to spend, and then they kind of blow through it, and they're wondering why it never really had a chance to start working.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are they tried Facebook ads in some way, and they're like, oh yeah, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And what do you think is going on when people say that?
Yeah, so I guess probably the most common misconception is people will boost a post. That's probably the most often thing you see people that said, I tried Facebook ads and it didn't work.
Okay.
Which is a pretty honest mistake that most people make. The problem with that is it has a lot less flexibility, and usually you can achieve the same thing with ads as you can with boosting a post, but a lot more as well.
So what is the difference between a boosted post and an ad?
So boosted post is basically just it's a lot more user friendly. So you have an already existing post that you made to your friends, on your wall, and then you can just click. It gives the option to boost it, and you put a little bit of money into it, and you don't really have to know how to set things up. You don't have to know the tech side of the back end or any of that, and it'll just tell you how many people you'll be able to reach with this amount of money, right? Mm-hmm. The problem though is that often it'll tell you a very inaccurate amount. It'll say you'll be able to reach, 4,000 people for, let's say, $15.
Okay.
And then I did that one time, and it was a tenth of that for that amount of money that I spent. Mm-hmm. So it kind of misleads you into believing that you're going to get this giant reach. And so I would say that's probably the first thing that most people say. I did a boosted post and it didn't work, or I did Facebook ads, but they're really just talking about they did.
Yeah. And they probably spent $20 on it, and it didn't do anything.
And then the second problem is usually they'll boost a post, and it'll just be pointing to, and I'm sure we're probably going to get into this, but they're boosting a post, pointing not really to anything that will make them money, right?
Mm.
So
I see what you're saying. So
they'll just boost a post of a video that they did, but it won't have a call to action, and it won't be sending them somewhere where they can, become a subscriber or buy their course.
Mm-hmm. It'll just be some video that doesn't lead anywhere else.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people do that. It's just they're boosting something, but it's not something that's actually strategically there's not a funnel that's involved in mapping out, right?
Exactly.
And just so we have some benchmarks in mind, how much does a life coach need to spend like what's a good benchmark for how much do you spend to get a coaching call? Like, do you have to spend $20 to get a coaching call, or is it like $100, or what do you say?
Yeah.
What's a good number to aim for?
I think it's better to think of it as relative more than like absolute, you know? So really you work backwards from what you're going to make from like what's the sale worth to you, right? So let's say that your client is going to pay you, I don't know, let's say it's
$2,000 for a 3-month program.
Okay.
Let's say.
So let's say the end result is 2,000, right?
Okay.
Ideally, since it's a one-time payment of $2,000, right? Is what you're going to get from the client. You probably wouldn't want to spend more than, you basically have to decide what you want your profit margin to be.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say you don't want to spend any more than $1,000 to
Okay.
get $2,000, right? Because then you're still making $1,000 in profit, and that you get to keep all of that. So I would say, it's really just about reverse engineering, and it's actually pretty simple when you think of it that way. You just kind of decide like what is the most you can spend on this client,
Yeah, and then half is
what are you
number.
comfortable? Yeah, what are you comfortable making with this client? Most people want to make at least 2 to 3 times return on their investment for what they're spending to get that client. So probably $1,000 you want to spend at the most. Ideally $500. So let's say if it's like $1,000 just to be safe. You gotta assume the worst and be conservative, since we're dealing with like cold traffic.
Yeah.
So you gotta assume that of the people that are going to book calls, a couple of them are not going to show up, right?
Yeah, and by calls we're talking about like free calls as a way to like as a way to transition into a paid service, but we're talking about going from Facebook ad to a call, and maybe there's a step in between where there's like Facebook ad to another like a free sort of guide or a free offer, and then a free call, and then the paid offer. Yeah, but right now we're talking about like getting someone into a free call from Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what specifically? Which part did you want to talk about?
I was just making that clear, but I lost track of where we're going. Yeah, let's backtrack. What were we talking about first? We were saying how much it costs to acquire a customer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we were talking about, you were saying like it's to get people into your free call. It might cost some amount, but not all those people will show up for the call.
Right.
Yeah.
So really, like it's hard to make any estimations or predictions about what the front, like let's say the front end is like the ad pointing to whatever the landing page, or capturing their information to get them to agree to a free call, let's say in this case. You have to be able to determine any of those numbers, you have to work backwards from the endpoint, right?
Yeah, like the sale.
Yeah.
And then you work backwards to see how much you want to spend on it. I see a lot of people spend like $100 or $200, and they're selling something that's like $1,000 or $2,000 or more, and they try out $100 or $200 on Facebook. It doesn't work, and then they stop doing it just because they think that spending $100 or $200 is enough. But really, you have to spend a lot more than that to acquire a customer on Facebook.
Sometimes.
At
least you have to be willing to commit it.
And it could be better.
An experiment,
right?
It is sort of a laboratory,
And it takes a while to experiment and get it right.
Because they'll start working and performing a lot better over time.
Yeah.
Once they work, but sometimes it takes like a week or two to start working.
For sure. Yeah, and I like that it's usually the case for a coach that you need to spend maybe $500 or $1,000 or more to acquire a customer, and it could be easier than that, but usually it's something like that or more. And just having that like benchmark in mind, like will show you like potentially is Facebook ads for you, maybe not. If you're not comfortable spending that much, then it's better to use an organic method to start getting clients and before moving to Facebook ad, because it just takes a lot of testing to get it right.
Exactly. I would say like it's one of those things where, if you're, it's better to get only 2 times return on your investment.
Yeah.
And be able to make like 20 sales than to get 20 times return on investment and make 1 client, because then you can scale it and control that.
Yeah.
But not everybody wants to only make 2 times return on their investment. So if that's the case, or your price isn't high enough to be able to make such a small profit margin, then you might want to evaluate if it's an appropriate use of that ad platform.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay, gotcha.
It just kind of depends on like the offer and the product.
True.
Yeah,
and I know like I've talked about this, with Kathleen. She's selling a chronic anxiety program, and she doesn't feel comfortable doing Facebook ads because she thinks that it would give her clients who suffer from chronic anxiety to see her little ad with their urgency. So it's also keeping the offer in mind. Like I know people offer like things like chronic anxiety coaching and grief counseling and just different things that it might not be appropriate to use Facebook ads for. So yeah, the offer does matter. And but I want to talk about, before we get into like more specifics about like who to target, let's talk about the sequence of the ad. So how does it work? Like the whole like the funnel, and just for clarity, when we're talking about a funnel, we're talking about basically a process or a sequence that someone goes through to go from just cold traffic into a paying customer. And so how does this sequence work on Facebook through a Facebook ad?
Yeah. So typically they'll see an ad in their status or their news feed, and they'll be intrigued by what you have to say. It speaks hopefully uniquely to them and their pain points and their desires and things like that. So they'll click on the ad. Usually they'll land on a landing page that you've created, not the homepage, because that is a big no-no, right?
And what is a landing page?
So landing page is basically, it's kind of like a website, but it's just a single page website that is part of your website, but maybe it's a page where they can't find that page, except it's basically it's designed just for this ad, right?
Right. Okay.
So you have this like website, and it's kind of your real estate, your property for your business, and you can take advantage of that by creating specific pages that are just designed for these ads.
Yeah, for someone to land on this page.
Exactly.
So the ad.
Yeah. So the ad might be very specific language about what you're trying to sell them.
Yeah. So
then you can take advantage of making the headline on that next landing page exactly the same language. So there's a really relevant, cohesive experience for them.
Right. So you go from the ad pops up in someone's newsfeed, and then it goes to a landing page with a similar message. So let's say message A is I help you find your dream like date or find your perfect spouse or whatever it is, and then you go on a landing page and it says something similar. And well, before we get into specifics on what shows up on the landing page, what actually, like, whose newsfeed is it actually showing up in?
Okay, yeah. So beforehand, you're going to be targeting these people based on either their interests or, if your product is meant for women between the ages of 45 and 65, let's say for maybe menopause or something like that. Depending on what type of person you're targeting, you will have already been only targeting those people, right? So they're already sort of prone to being receptive to that ad.
So you pick the targeting and then right. And so what are like some of the best practices of like targeting? Like how do you pick really good targeting?
Yeah. So one of the sort of popular ways of thinking about it that I hear a lot is being really granular and really specific and finely tuned targeting. The problem with that is like recently with all of Facebook's changes and within the last year, they've sort of adjusted a lot of things, and it's gotten really expensive to do it that way.
Interesting.
So a lot of the time, the benefit you get from being so finely tuned into that specific person the click will cost you like 3 times as much as it would if you were just a little bit more broad.
Interesting.
And less specific.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like most people would think, oh, the more specific you get on Facebook ad targeting, like the better it will be.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like the Facebook algorithm changes in the past year have made it so that you target broader, and then you rely on Facebook's algorithm to like learn who to target for you, because it's a smart advertising. Like it understands who's similar to people who have been engaging with it,
Yeah.
and then they start targeting those same people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So it does it for the targeting for you.
Exactly. And the exception to that is if you're able to target, like I'm assuming with life coaches,
Yeah.
a lot of the time you can target the whole country, right?
Yeah.
Or even more countries like Canada, Australia.
Yeah. Most of the time, unless someone wants to have it be a local
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So if it's more than like 1 million people, the thing is Facebook likes big audiences, right? Since it's a very sophisticated algorithm, more than some of the other advertising platforms,
Yeah.
it has these really advanced ways of finding your perfect customer itself. And it's almost like if you let it do its thing,
it's almost better than you do it.
It'll do it way better than you ever would be able to.
Wow.
Right? So you actually want to give it enough flexibility and enough space.
Interesting.
And a big enough pool of possible prospects.
Wow.
To make those decisions much more effectively for you. So
you have to trust. You just have to trust the system.
Yeah, it's like if you have a 50,000 person audience, it's so small that you're almost like chokeholding your own results from ever blossoming.
So if you get narrow, you're not letting Facebook's algorithm work properly.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though your offer should be like specific and narrow,
right?
The targeting itself maybe shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. So like, if the exception I was going to say was if the interests, like the group of interests that like let's say life coaches or people into meditation,
right.
or mindfulness, things like that,
right?
If you're able to like target those specific interests and that total audience is like more than 1 million people, then that can actually still be really effective too, because then it's a good happy medium.
Because a lot of people are interested in mindfulness and meditation.
You have enough people for Facebook to work its big audience, but also it's targeted to people that are probably good likely buyers of what you have to sell.
Yeah, it's a broad enough keyword as well.
So that'd be a good balance. But if you're doing if you're already working with a very small audience, I would go really broad. Like honestly, you can even go as broad as like everyone over the age of 21 in this geographical area. But if you have the whole country to work with, or if you have several countries to work with, I would just make sure that you have at least like 1 million people that you're targeting, ideally, or more. Okay. And what you want is like the other most important thing is like Facebook needs to get 50 conversions per week to start really learning the best people to show your ads to.
I think that's like a big missing, like another reason why you need to spend big on Facebook in order for things to work. Like, yeah, you need to have enough conversions and activity happening, or Facebook's won't learn properly. So I want to highlight something you said. You said, target big, target broad, and then also spend bigger than you think. But make sure you're comfortable spending that.
Yeah. And the 50 conversions per week thing doesn't have to be necessarily spending big. It doesn't have to be a sale, right? So
yeah, the conversions don't have to be sales.
So if you can't get, don't have a big enough budget to be getting 50 sales every week, which most people don't.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about this, but if you you can just make the conversion one step back, like filling out this form, or watching this video in your funnel, or
simply just clicking a page, clicking a link.
Or if you still can't get that 50 of those, then make it one step back, right? So you can even make it just like landing on the landing page, and that's the conversion, right? And usually within your conservative budget, you can get 50 of those per week, and then it'll start at least being able to find more people that are
awesome
prone to what you want.
Okay, so I think we have an idea of how targeting works, and well, a little more than that. I know there's placements are important. So placements are where the ad shows up, whether that be in the newsfeed or on Instagram, because Facebook owns Instagram and has access to their network as well. And then there's the audience network, which is like another. What is the audience network exactly?
The audience network is a large network of other websites across the internet
that Facebook has access to.
That Facebook has, like a partnership with, so they can place sort of like banner ads, like you've seen those,
throughout
ads, like
the internet,
the New York Times, all those like Huffington Post,
Yeah.
It's just like that. They have those websites have space that they sell to advertisers, and Audience Network through Facebook has partnered with them, and they can show on those websites outside of Facebook.
Okay.
So there's a large network of sites that Facebook that you can do through Facebook and get more exposure on those other sites
Gotcha.
if people don't happen to be on Facebook.
Gotcha. And then I know there's also messenger placements, and then other places in Facebook besides the news feed, like the sidebars, and you can determine in your ad where you're locating those. Are there any best practices there in terms of where you should place your ads, or tell us about that?
Yeah. So Facebook actually recommends that you do automatic placement, which just leaves it all open for business. Because theoretically, it's supposed to be the most efficient that way as far as how they spend your budget. This doesn't always prove true. Sometimes, depending on what your product is and where it's going to show on those audience network sites, it might not be getting great results on those sites. But the thing is, usually, even if it doesn't do great on those sites, they usually won't spend a lot of money on those sites.
Okay.
So it actually is probably a best practice to do automatic placements.
Interesting.
As crazy as it sounds.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think it's like Facebook trying to take your money.
Yeah.
That being said, though, sometimes I will turn off certain placements because
if it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'll kind of test automatic, and then you can go into the reports and the breakdowns and see where it showed and what the
what's working. What the
yeah,
results
kind
are.
of look at the breakdown, and then I'll kind of decide. Well, maybe I don't need to be spending on. Maybe I can turn this placement off.
Gotcha.
But usually you actually want to try to give it the best chance. For example, Messenger actually has a really good.
Interesting.
Good.
Yeah, sometimes
really
I'm
cost
shutting that off. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be 3 times higher click-through rate on there. So
Mm.
it's just good for it to experiment with.
Right. Well, I think a theme that's coming up is trust Facebook's algorithm more than you think.
Exactly.
Because you're probably not going to be able to outsmart it.
Right.
And it's better to kind of just let them trust Facebook and that it will try to maximize your ad and show it to as many people as possible.
Exactly.
So targeting, we have a good understanding of that. And then, so someone sees your ad, maybe it pops up in their newsfeed, and then you go to a landing page. And then what happens after that?
So hopefully your landing page will either be, where they can learn more information about what you're offering. It might be a video of you. It might be just some copy that you've written, a long letter talking about all the benefits that this course or whatever you're selling has. Let's say it's a course.
Okay.
It's describing all the benefits that you get if you sign up for this course. And then usually, the two most common scenarios is the landing page is a free giveaway, right?
Okay.
So maybe it's a free PDF with tips, helpful, valuable tips.
Right.
Like a free ebook.
Mm-hmm.
So they would land on the landing page, download the ebook, but to get the ebook, they have to give you their email.
Okay.
And now you have their contact information, and you can, nurture them
Follow
over time.
up. Yeah.
Keep in contact with them with an email newsletter.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
So that's a really good way to do it. The other most common way is, let's say if it's a course, they would land on the landing page. The landing page would be full of compelling descriptions of your course and all the reasons that it will change their life. And then at the end of that, it will have a link to, schedule a free call or a phone consultation where you can sell them on the course if that's if you need to talk to them in person, right? So that landing page will have persuasive copy and then schedule a link, schedule a call.
Schedule a call.
Calendar
and then
link.
that also applies to selling coaching itself.
Mm-hmm.
Is the landing page will be a schedule a free call.
Yeah.
And then it might be a video. I know videos make pages more higher converting in most cases.
Yeah, video's great.
How do you set up the landing page? What do you what softwares do you need to make a landing page? What are the best softwares for landing pages in your opinion?
Mm-hmm. So you don't actually need a landing page software if you have a WordPress website, which most people are Squarespace or Wix.
Okay.
You can build them in those tools.
Okay.
But typically they're a little bit harder and
lower converting.
They can actually they can be high converting if you're really good at using those tools and really good at design.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're not, like I wasn't really, and most people, if that's not their specialty, they're not going to be that great at web design, right? So the easier thing to do is just get a tool like either, you know, ClickFunnels or Unbounce is another really good one.
Okay.
Or even like Lead Pages is another popular one.
Okay.
So there's these tools where
I know Lead Pages is more inexpensive,
Mhm.
and I use that with a client. ClickFunnels, they have a $97 plan, a $300 plan, and it could be great, like help you easily design good funnels, and landing pages and whole sequences. But again, like be willing to spend. Like if you're gonna advertise, be prepared to spend money and on software and on advertising itself.
Yeah, and I would say like if it doesn't need to be really pretty and it doesn't need to be really fancy at first. You know, like if you're on a really low budget, the cheaper ones will work too. You know, like as long as
just using WordPress.
Basically, the key is like whatever thing that allows you to get it done really quickly and efficiently, and as long as it looks professional, then you know you can use the cheaper one like Lead Pages or whatever one gets the job done, and then later once the sales are rolling in and you're balling, then you can, you know, sort of upgrade to those.
I agree with that.
More high end tools.
I agree with that. Like
when you need them,
right? Like ClickFunnels can cost you $300 a month, but you can do most of what you can do on ClickFunnels on Lead Pages and Mailchimp, and spend $250 less a month. So you know if those numbers are significant to you, like spending $300 a month versus spending $50 a month, then it may make more sense to just use Lead Pages and Mailchimp, or even WordPress or Squarespace and Mailchimp. But ClickFunnels does make things easier if you're able to spend that. So we have an idea of the sequence. So the ad pops up in someone's newsfeed, and then it goes to they go to a landing page where they either they have like a free gift or a free giveaway, a free ebook or a guide, or the option to schedule a free call to learn more and like maybe a video. And then after that, it's you know, they hop on the call to see if they're a good fit and kind of test out the coaching service, or maybe they get the free giveaway and they get put in an email newsletter, something along those lines. And we can use like a software like ClickFunnels or Lead Pages or even WordPress or Squarespace to make these landing pages. So I think we have an idea of the overall sequence. And now let's talk about the creative part of the advertising and the copywriting, which might be the most important part of the whole thing. So we haven't talked about like what actual kinds of messages do we say in the ad, and you know, what are the best practices in terms of how what we say in the ad creative, and also in the landing page, what are the best practices, more into like what do we say exactly with the copywriting and landing pages and like the visual, how it looks. So starting with the ad creative, like what should the ad creative say?
Okay, well I would say that just psychologically speaking, people tend to respond more powerfully to avoiding or alleviating pain than to getting a benefit or receiving gain.
Okay.
So, like an easy way to remember it is people would rather avoid pain than get gain. It's it kind of rhymes.
Okay.
But
overcome something instead of get something.
Yeah, it's like the fear of loss is a really powerful emotional trigger, and preventing losing something, like people just don't want to like lose things, you know. But getting a new thing is nice, but it's almost not like, there's not as much urgency.
Yeah,
right?
Not enough like emotional
components. So more of the message, if you can sort of find the unique pain points that they're experiencing, you know, like what keeps them up at night, what keeps them like staring at the ceiling with stomach acid boiling up their esophagus, like can't sleep, they're just like so stressed out about this one thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you can like enter the conversation that's already happening in their mind with your language in the ad or in the landing page, like they're just gonna be like hooked, you know. So really, it's like people think like, oh, what are the right words to use? But really, it's just like market research, right? So if you can, the research you do on your particular perfect client or your target prospect,
right,
that's gonna almost do most of the work for you in the copy, you know.
Yeah.
Most of the work comes in the prep. Not the actual...
In the customer research and like identifying what people's problems are.
Yeah.
And then it's just a matter of like testing out different kind of languages to express that.
Exactly. And I would sort of as an exercise, I would come up with maybe, let's say you have like the landing page and you have like one landing page that you've decided on. But then like for the ads, since the ads are a little bit shorter, you can come up with like 5 different angles or variations of the ad.
And test out all 5 of them.
Test out all 5 of them.
See how people respond to it.
And even actually run all of them at the same time because Facebook likes that as well, to have variation. Like,
right.
Like so it can have like different options.
Right.
So yeah, you'll have, like I said, identifying their pain points is like number 1.
I like that whole
speaking to that.
Yeah, the whole thing of like talking about their pain rather than the gain, like talking about what you're helping them not lose instead of like what you're helping them the customer gain.
Right. So it's kind of like ethically, like we're not trying to trick people here, but it's ethically sort of rubbing salt in the wound that they already have.
Yeah.
So that they realize, oh, this is actually worse than I initially realized.
Gotcha.
I need to take care of this.
Right.
This is an area I need to handle in my life.
And then it automatically instills a sense of urgency and they want to click on it.
Exactly.
And I know you've told me once that like you've looked at my own ads and you've given me a lot of great advice on my own advertising. And you've told me once that you give me some great advice. Like if I put every ad comes with an image, and the image that I had in my last ad was like it was me at a meetup hosting like this event.
Yeah. And
you actually suggested that I make the image like actually a moving image of like something more like video-y or like something more motion based because that increases like engagement and conversions. Mm-hmm. So can you speak a little bit about images and videos and what kinds of visual content should we see on the ad?
Yeah. So if you can either use images in the ad or if you're using a video, that can work well too. Mm-hmm. You just have to sort of test which one is getting better results. But a neat little trick that not everyone knows about is, let's say you're only working with images. You can actually create a slideshow and up to like 10 different images. And so let's say most people don't have like videos to work with, right?
Right.
They're like, crap, I don't have a video. Like, what do I use, right?
Sure.
Like I've heard videos work, but I don't have one. So, what you can do is you can make an image into a video, which is a really cool little hack almost. So you go into, when you're creating the ad, there's like single image video or there's like slideshow.
So the slideshow it looks like kind of a
it looks like kind of a video. You can make
it,
and you can even like get creative and like create your own little slideshow and it becomes almost like a GIF.
Yeah.
But if you're just using regular images, that works well too. Like it's almost like so you can set how long between images that it changes. You can do like fade transition so it's smoother. But just the fact that people are scrolling down in their news feed and they see this like moving image, it sort of captures their attention.
Yeah, for sure.
It's harder for them to ignore it, right?
Right. And I feel like a video, when someone sees that in the Facebook news feed or a moving image, it's just more, it stands out a little more. People are more likely to watch it.
Right. So you might have like a cool picture of you, in a seminar talking to a group.
Yeah. And then like a couple of
if you have 3 different pictures, all at different angles with different backgrounds, that's a little more, it could be a little more captivating.
You're right. That's a lot more engaging. Like 3 different pictures of you speaking compared to just like one static image of you speaking. Yeah. Or even potentially even better, like a video of you talking about something, or perhaps a PowerPoint, like a preview of a PowerPoint of you like explaining some concept or something like that. Yeah,
and another really great pro tip. This is pretty advanced, but it's not hard to do. If you have video testimonials from your already existing customers,
oh wow, yeah,
you can make a video carousel ad.
Interesting.
Where it's several different videos, and they can scroll through the videos.
I'm sure that'd be really, really
you have
powerful.
Like 4 or 5 video testimonials in one ad, and they can like each one is a customer with maybe talking about a different thing you help them overcome.
Wow, I can see that being really, really powerful, especially for life coaches.
Yeah.
Definitely. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
And so, aside from we talked about the headlines. Well, we talked about more about the messaging overall, and that relates to the headlines, but also in an ad you see there's copy, then there's an image, and then there's a headline, and then a button.
Yeah.
So. We've kind of talked about this high level, but what should really be on the headline?
Yeah.
Like
So the headline and the image are probably way more important than
anything else.
the other copy of
Okay.
the words, right? Probably mainly supposedly the 80% of what people pay attention to is the image. So that's probably the most important thing to like test different variations of.
Interesting.
And then the headline is like second, and then the copy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
and what about the call to action?
Call to action is also really important. I would say call to action and the headline are equally important.
Yeah. What should the call to action be?
So the call to action button usually should be learn more, because it's like the least salesy, I would say.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like you're offering them to find out some more information, and people don't like to be sold, right?
Yeah, it's not buy now.
We're advertising, but the goal is to not make people feel like they're being sold to.
Yeah.
Because initially they have this like achy reaction to it.
Right. And you just like build trust and relationship before people are even comfortable talking to you.
Right, exactly. So unless you're selling like clothing or food on like e-commerce,
then they might buy right away.
Yeah, like then you can have like a shop now button.
Yeah.
But for anything like info related, like what we're dealing with, I would say use like learn more button is the best. The headline, you should test different variations of, just like I was talking about with the different variations of the copy,
Mm-hmm.
So the headline should have in it the benefit most importantly,
Mm-hmm.
or the pain that it's
that
you're trying to agitate,
Right.
that you're solving.
Right.
Either way, it should have the most important thing for the headline to have is like what I get from this, how it helps me as a customer.
What is the benefit? What thing are you overcoming? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think we've gone through a lot so far. We've gone through the sequence, we've got the targeting, we've gone through messaging, the ad creative, and I think that's a pretty like holistic perspective of how the ads work on a high level, but also we've gone into detail on specific tactics.
Yeah.
What are some other options? Like I know, so a lot of people are using Facebook ads right now, and I know a lot of people are succeeding with it, but maybe there's got to be some other options out there aside. Like maybe some people aren't interested in using Facebook ads. They might want to use YouTube ads or like a totally different platform. Can you tell us like if someone's interested in paid advertising but maybe not going the Facebook route, is there what kinds of other options do they have?
Yep, there's a lot. There's a lot of good ones now. People have been catching up, I think, since Facebook is getting more and more expensive. Other companies sort of getting on the bandwagon and making their platforms better and
Mm-hmm.
targeting better to sort of compete, which is good for us as the advertisers and the consumers.
Right.
So I would say I've seen also really good results on YouTube ads, and some of my colleagues have talked, they've experienced good results on YouTube ads as well. YouTube ads, the good thing, this goes with Facebook and any like social media like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. The things that work the best on all of those, strangely, is like the lower quality production.
Interesting.
Like
people get so perfectionist about like the videos look so nice, but it's really like simple as possible.
Yeah, and this is good news because most people don't have a giant like lighting set and like $3,000 camera, and a boom mic guy,
Yeah.
So like the good thing is, literally just filming it, a selfie on your phone.
Yeah.
Or like you can have like a selfie stick or whatever, but just using your phone because usually smartphones have really good cameras these days, and it just like people respond the most to authenticity on those platforms. They want it to feel native.
I think authenticity matters the most in copywriting. Yeah.
Definitely. So any video should like it's as weird as it sounds, the almost like the crappier it looks, the better.
Yeah.
Because they're like,
this
is real. This guy's just like
that's awesome.
doing this thing and just happens to be documenting it while he's doing it.
Love it.
Instead of like very contrived and prepared with
I like that a lot.
production set,
I can picture like a lot of life coaches just seriously just going with a selfie stick and like talking about some kind of thing that they solve.
Yeah.
And just having that be a YouTube ad.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, I can see that working really well.
So don't I would say for those kinds of platforms, don't be scared of the barrier to entry of like a production set or equipment or the expense of that, because actually it works better to not do that. Like so you'll notice that like some of the most successful social media marketing guys, they have millions of dollars, but they'll still just use their phone. And that's very intentional.
That's really true. It's really true.
Like Ty Lopez, for example, is a really good guy on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you watch his videos, and like almost every single one of them is literally him on his phone.
Yeah.
Like
that's true.
The guy has millions of dollars, but he's using his smartphone.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It just proves that like you don't have to have all this. Like, it's not a good use of time usually to spend on this just production quality. It's just good to focus on the content and strip down to authenticity.
Exactly.
Cool.
So YouTube is good. Google ads for search, like AdWords, is an option. It's where you search in Google and they show up at the top. You pay for the top spots. Those can be really expensive. They can be good if you have a thing like if you're a plumber, for example, where it's a very urgent type of thing that people need now. So like they're going to call you and like, I need this now, like it's an emergency.
Right. Maybe some life coaches offer something related to that.
Yeah, maybe.
But probably most don't.
Right. So that might not be the best for this context, but what could work well is you can do Google Display Network is another platform, which is banner ads all across like millions of sites on the internet. Sort of like what we were talking about earlier with the
Facebook
Audience
Ads
Network. Yeah, so it's called Google Display Network, and they have like over 2 million websites that you can show your image ads on, like banner ads, but different sizes. You can customize how it looks. So if you know how to do those well, those can get good results. And then there's like native ads, which I've been getting more into. And
what are native ads?
Native ads are so the term native advertising basically just means it's trying to look not like an ad, right?
Yeah.
It's trying to look less like an advertisement and more like part of the site's content, right? So if you look at, for example, let's just say Huffington Post as an example that everyone's familiar with. After the article that you read, you'll see at the bottom there'll be like 8 different picture box, like little squares.
Definitely.
With like these clickbaity headlines, right? And like we've all clicked on them.
Yeah.
And they all work because there'll be like a really compelling headline and a picture, but you click on it not even realizing that it's an ad. It just feels like related posts.
Right.
Almost,
it's like it feels editorial.
Yeah, it feels editorial.
Yeah.
So those are called native ads, and they tend to convert a lot better than just regular banner ads, because banner ads are like people develop what they call banner blindness, and
I certainly don't click on
people start
banner.
ignoring. Yeah, like I barely ever click on them. People start ignoring them, but when they're in that format where they look like the other content on the site in a native way, they're really effective. So that's a platform that's been taking off. A lot more people are using that these days. So those would be like the main ones I would say, besides Facebook, that you can get really good results with for pretty low cost. If you know if you're doing it properly.
Yeah. But it might require some learning. But I mean, but you said native ads can be even like less expensive than Facebook ads.
Yep.
But it's just it might be harder to learn. It still requires the same amount of testing and.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Let's wrap up there, and I want to thank Austin so much.
Yeah.
If you want to get in touch with him, how can someone follow up with you?
Yep. So my website is austinlaceyconsulting.com. And I can also be found on Facebook and LinkedIn.
And I'll share all those links in the post. So thanks again, Austin.
Good times.